Remortgaging. Are you a little bit confused, not sure what to do? Everybody's saying remortgage, remortgage. Doesn't matter about your early repayment charges, your ERCs, just remortgage. And you're thinking, I don't have a clue what they're talking about. Well, hi, my name's Manda Walker and I'm a mortgage advisor and the mortgage coach. And I'm here to talk to you today about remortgaging. Now, you may be one of those people that was so excited the first time round to buy your first property that you didn't really ask a lot of questions. You were just in that, what, I can actually afford my own place? Let's just get it through. If I ask too many questions, it may not go through. So you did that. And then when it came up for maybe remortgage the next time, or this is your first remortgage, you were like, well, I'll just go direct to my bank. They sent me a letter offering me something. Let's just go with that. But you don't really understand how it all works. So I'm here to break it down. And if you've got any questions after this video, then please, please, please put it in the comments, because I just want to help explain things. So if you put it in the comments, I'll personally answer it, any questions you've got. But let's start at the beginning. When you buy a property, the property, say it's worth 100,000. Let's keep things simple. You put down a deposit of 20,000. Then you have 80,000 that you're borrowing. Now, what the bank will see that as, you've got a loan to value. So that's a loan to the value of the property of 80%. Because it's worth 100, you've put in 20% deposit, which is also 20,000 deposit, and you're borrowing 80,000, which is also 80%. So it's a loan to value, an LTV of 80%. That's the first thing to be aware of. So when you go to remortgage, the first thing you need to do is, what is it now worth? I know I bought it for 100,000, but the majority of properties, and this is why we all buy, I assume it's why I buy and invest in rental properties, etc., is because generally speaking, prices do increase. So the value of your property does increase, and it normally increases a lot quicker than, savings in banks, for instance. So when you're remortgaging, point number one, what is the value now? So before it was 100 in this example, now it might be 200. It depends how long your remortgage is. Then the other thing was the deposit. Now that was 20,000 before. That isn't relevant anymore because it's no longer called a deposit. It's called your equity. It's the difference between what your mortgage balance is, and basically, obviously, you put in 80 to begin with, but if you've been paying capital and repayment every single month, then you have brought your mortgage balance down. So originally they lent you 80,000. How much do you owe now over the years of you repaying? So you start off with the market value. And how would you get the market value? You can go on Zoopla. That's the cheapest way. You can speak to an estate agent. Generally speaking, unless you're selling, the estate agent doesn't really want to give you a quote. But you can ask them, and unfortunately, it may start you getting a load of calls saying, do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? I would recommend Zoopla or Rightmove. If you go onto the Zoopla website, you can go to a section that has house prices. You put in your postcode, and you can just do a search for your house number and then see what it's worth. Now, if you've had the house quite a while and you didn't buy it recently, it doesn't often give you the most accurate price. It will give you a range, and at least you'll have an idea. But if there's a house next door that's sold, say 6 months or a year ago, that will be more up to date than yours. So if you know for a fact that that house is identical to yours, i.e. you've got a 3-bed, it's a 3-bed, you've got 2 living rooms, it's got 2 living rooms, you haven't gone into the loft, they haven't gone into the loft, it's like for like, then have a look at the price of the property next door as well. And if it's slightly different to yours, then you can go with that. So that's the first thing, the market value. The next thing is the mortgage balance. Now, I always say to my clients, ask the bank for the mortgage balance, and also if you've got less than 6 months before your mortgage is renewed, you can ask them what they're offering. Now, it's always good, like when you're doing some work on a property or when you're shopping, you always try and get more than one price. It's just sensible, right? Everybody says, my dad always said, always get 3 quotes. So what I would suggest for you to do is you go to your bank and you say, I'm up for renewal within the next 6 months, or they may have already approached you. A lot of banks are very, very good like that, and they'll approach you 3, 4, 5, 6 months before, depending on when you can remortgage. And I'll explain about the timing of remortgage in a minute. And you ask them, or they'll offer it to you, and it should say what the mortgage balance is. It should also say what they want to offer you for your next deal. They should also say what current deal you're on, and it should also say what the ERC is. All right, so that's a lot of information. Let's break it down. So the first is what deal you're currently on. Now, a lot of people, this is quite depressing because they're either on a 1% or a 2% rate of what they're on currently in this current climate. But the rates, as we all know, are going up. So you'll look at what you're currently on, and then it will say if you're due to renew in 6 months' time. Some lenders will let you renew within 6 months. Some lenders, it will be 3 months. So what they'll say is if you renew before the 3 months are up, for the lenders that don't want you to renew before 3 months, there'll be an ERC, which is an early repayment charge. Now, normally with all mortgages, you're allowed to make overpayments of, say, 10% every year. But obviously, a remortgage, you are basically, if you do not go with this lender, you are basically getting another lender to pay that mortgage off for you and take the debt. So it's like if I owed someone money, say I owed, my friend £100, and I didn't want to be owed to her anymore. I'd rather be owed to, say, my brother or my sister, for example. Then I would ask them to pay her off, and then I owe them the money. Now, as far as the current lender you're with, once you pay them off, so you pay them off the money they're owed, then, they've got you're not paying them interest anymore, you're not paying them capital anymore, you're not paying anything. So they don't really want you to do this any earlier than when the deal ends. So as I said, they may give you leeway. Some lenders give 6 months, some give 5, some give 3. You'd have to look at the fine print of the mortgage offer, which you would have got from your mortgage advisor when you originally did the deal. Or you can ask the current lender and they should give you that information. So you've got that information on the new offering, for want of a better word. It's sometimes called a redemption statement. It will say, 1, what you have outstanding, and that will be what you originally borrowed, what you've paid off, and any interest that's due. And then once you have that balance, you know that you can go to other lenders and you can check things out. Now, I would advise go to a mortgage advisor. Go to a mortgage advisor, because especially one that has access to, the majority of the market, all of the high street lenders, all of the banks, all the building societies, all the specialist lenders, because then you don't get 3 quotes, you get like 100, so you get a lot of quotes, and you compare all of those with what your current bank is offering you. Now, what your current bank is offering you may be better, it may be worse, but just double check, do a comparison, because, everybody's mortgage is, it's not a tenner or £100. Like I said before, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds here. So every little bit counts. So if one can do a better interest rate and a better deal overall, so that's not just the interest rate, but it's also the product fees. There are a lot of offerings out there where the interest rate is slightly lower than the rest, and everybody's like, let's go to that. But then if they're charging you £6,000 booking fee to book it in, then it's not actually worth it, is it? So just bear that in mind. And as I said, your mortgage advisor can do your comparison and say, adding the fee to the loan or not. And there are certain reasons why and why not. I normally recommend that you add the fee to the loan because the product fee is not refundable in most cases. So if you add it to the mortgage and then the mortgage doesn't go ahead, it was added to the mortgage and you never even got to the mortgage part, so you don't have to pay the fee. But if you pay the fee up front and then it doesn't go ahead, it is very, very difficult to get a refund depending on the circumstances. So sometimes it's easier just to add it. And what you can do, because most mortgages let you make overpayments, you can actually make the overpayment at that point. Right, remortgages. You've got your remortgage balance, you go and find out what are the best deals. You have to look at interest rate, as I've said before, if there's a product fee. You also have to look at, some will throw in a free legal because it's a remortgage, some will throw in a free valuation, but you need to be aware of this. With your current lender, you can normally go online and have a look at what they're offering, and they will also state what they're valuing the property at. They will do just a desktop valuation to get an idea to begin with, and if that is reasonable to you and you've done the comparison with Zoopla or the estate agent, whichever you've chosen, then obviously that's definitely worth looking at. And then once you've done that, you just need to ask, if it doesn't state it, you need to ask if there are any early repayment charges. You need to ask, what the interest rate is, what the product fee is, and everything like that. And then once you've got all of that information, then go ahead and decide what's the best one for you and do the remortgage. So I hope that's explained how remortgages work. And at this moment in time, if you can remortgage, I would suggest that you do. And yeah, as I said, if you've got any questions, please post them in the down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer any remortgage questions you've got. Thanks for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.